All right. Well, I thought I'd just make one video of this instead of doing like part by part. So I'm just gonna go over how I set this up on this lawnmower. This is an E120, which would be like the later D series, and this is the full frame 44-inch John Deere snowblower. So like this lawn tractor and the late D series, and I believe the S series now, they use a like a 2 or 3 piece setup that you put like the front bracket on, the back bracket, and then it's got some tensioner pulleys in the section. It basically doesn't have like this full big piece. It comes off in like 3 chunks or so. And there's other people that have gotten this to work, but I guess they haven't really explained them too much. So I'm kind of go over what I did to get this to work. And this came up, like I said, this came off an early D series lawnmower, and I was able to get it hooked up to this. So what I did was, first thing was, I did have to order the rear mounts for the back. I don't know if you can see them since I painted them now. Let me guess, you probably can't now that there's no light. Here, let me get a light here quick, if I can. Oh yeah. All right, sorry about that. Maybe this will help. So see those mounts up there that I welded? You're supposed to bolt them, but I just welded them. And then where that square is, I got to drill back out, because that's actually where the one of the attachment goes for the lawnmower deck. And I totally forgot about it. So both sides have it. They're just a little bit lower, so I got to drill them out so that I could put the little mounting tab back in that holds one of the brackets for the lawnmower. But the other side's the same exact way. Each one of those brackets is about 16 bucks a piece or so, or 15 bucks, or whatever the heck it is. See if you can see it here. Sorry about that. I mean, there's like, now that I painted everything, it's hard to see, so you can see that's also welded as well. So what I had to do was, you can get the bushings or the spacers from John Deere 2, and the bolts and the nut and all that stuff, and just that alone is gonna run you $35 a side, which is insane. So I had some parts from my C4 Corvette when I redid all the poly bushings in the rear end, and in those bushings they have these steel cores that go in them, and they get replaced when you put the poly bushings in. Well, I saved some of them because I'm like, you know what, I could probably throw it in your toolbox. You might need it someday. Well, needed it someday. So the spacer that's in these is one of the solid, each end is a solid core that goes in the bushings for the rear diff on a C4 Corvette, and they fit perfect. Had them, used them, and then I just used a bolt and nut, and it fits. And it's nice and snug. You can unlatch it, pull it off. So these will stay on there. Those are permanent. And when you put the mower deck on, they don't get in the way. So those will always stay there. And then that way, when summertime comes, you just disconnect it. And then when winter comes, you just have to basically install it. Other thing is too, is I ended up getting some 3/8" steel plate and just welding it to the frame here too. That way I could get these adjustment rods on, because on these lawnmowers you have to get the brackets for the front of them, and guess what? They're about $70 a piece. It's $140. So by the time, I mean, we're looking, if I would have had to order the bushings for each side of those and just the front brackets here, you're looking at $200 worth of hardware that fits in the palm of your hand. Ridiculous. So I'm like, nope, I'm just gonna do it myself, welded it, same the other side. And then as you can see under here too, I installed an electric winch. And all I did was weld a cut U-bolt onto this front plate that's really thick, and it's bolted to the frame. I don't believe the early lawnmowers have this. It's only the E series and later. I'm guessing just for heat shield, but that's all I did. And then made some brackets and welded them to the frame, and then the 2 bolts that go into the winch to hold it down, and then basically ran everything up through here. And eventually this is all gonna be braided. I'm gonna put all this stuff together, the connection piece. So these would be, I'm gonna cut them and put a connector so it sits up here. It'll be braided loom, look nice, and then you just connect it, disconnect it when you need it. But for now, this is the way it is. And then when summertime comes, like I said, you just basically would just disconnect everything, and everything would be hunky-dory. So that is how I set that up. That winch was like, I don't know, $70 on eBay. And then I don't know if you noticed too, this obviously had the arm on it, and I just cut it off because didn't need it. Got in the way when you lift the winch up, the arm would be like, whoa. So yeah, it works really good. This is temporary. It's just stuff I have laying around. I want to redo all of this up here. And what I mean is to actually get the bracket that's for this lawnmower, because this is what came with it for the early D series, and they don't really work to get like the hood and stuff open. So they normally go like this and come around that way. So this is just temporary, and then you can get this hood open. You just have to take this piece off. Sorry about that. You just take basically this off, and then I have it cut here so you can just pull the hood open, but it's kind of annoying. So it's just temporary. I think the bracket's like $50, so maybe next year I'll get it. But to kind of give you an idea, oh, the other thing is too, is it needs worked, and this still needs to be adjusted. E-Series have a big, basically, trampoline spring that come on these tensioners, and it's way too big, and it keeps running into the frame and then runs into this bracket. So what needs to happen is a piece needs to get welded up here and then drilled 2 holes and then basically flipped, so that brings the spring out this way more, and then that way it won't get sandwiched between this bracket and the frame, and then you can bring it up about 1/4 inch, and then that'll make everything happy. And then the other thing is too, is this came I think with a 56 inch or 56.5 inch belt. I had to put a 59-inch belt on it, and I looked at a foreman, and another guy had to do the same thing too when he hooked it up to his E-Series lawnmower. So you got to do that. And then I was going to show you here. So I have the switch here that basically is, you know, hit it, that's down, that lifts it up. And as you see, everything is nice and tight. Gets it completely off the ground. And then when you want to put it back down, you just, that's it. And it works really well. So I've got new tire chains on, and then I'm gonna make a weight kit back here. I have a bunch of roll cage steel back there that I used for my drag car that I have left over. So I'm just gonna basically build a plate that'll get locked onto the side here on both sides, and then it'll be bolted down, locked down there on the hitch. And then I'll put 2 cinder blocks in there, so that way you can just remove it. And not, again, John Deere charges arm and leg for their pity shit too, so I'm just gonna build it better and cheaper. So hopefully that helps. You can do it if you just put a little bit of time. You know, it took me a couple hours to get everything figured out and put everything together, but it works. So we haven't had snow, oddly enough, here in Minnesota this year, so I'm guessing this is probably just what happens, that I got this year and then we just won't get snow, which is fine. That's what it takes, then I'm happy. So that is everything that is to put the full frame 44-inch snowblower on the later E-Series and later D-Series lawn tractors.